Hello, everybody. It's so great to see so many familiar and new faces here at the MOTH Festival of Ideas. So it is such an honor to be here with both of you, Elena and Fatima, and to discuss your work and your creative practice and how the arts relate to MOTH. So we'll begin this conversation with a dive into Elena's new book, Mother Other, and from there we'll expand out into Elena and Fatima's other work and how they understand the relationship between the arts and moving law, governance, and culture beyond anthropocentrism. With that in mind, let's turn to Elena and Mother Other, which is right here. For context, as Joanna mentioned, Elena is the MOTH Art Fellow. We're so lucky to have her as part of our team, and the real driving force behind the MOTH program's visual identity, including the beautiful artwork that you've seen for the MOTH Festival in its poster and in its other products and its other artistic outputs. So this year, Elena finished the art book Mother Other. Elena will show us in a couple minutes some images from the art book, but there are some limited number of copies available for sale outside on the table out there. And tomorrow we'll reinstitute, as Joanna mentioned, the art exhibit, which featured a station with Elena's images from the book, which we encourage you to come and take a look at and really sit with and explore with more time. So with that, let's dive into Mother Other. So for those in the audience who are unfamiliar with the book, could you provide us with an overview of Mother Other and what inspired you to create it?
Yes, hello everyone. I'm so excited and happy and honored to be here launching my book. This book I created to all the mothers that carry with love others. I'm so excited, as I was saying, this is a result of a whole year processes of working with the MOTH Collective, making art and feeling inspired by everyday life. So this book is about the end and the beginning of life. The beginning is the end, and the end is the beginning of the book. So you can read it through one side and through the other, and invent multiple stories and beings. Because the book, it doesn't have words, it just have like a little introduction of what I have been doing in the MOTH Collective. And yes, you can go through this part that is the mother that carry with love others, and this is the story of other. So basically, it's about playing with the book. It's about playing with the object. I'm going to continue reading. There are two main characters, mother and other, and they navigate through each other and through the ocean. Mother gives life, and other is looking forward to dying, to transforming. They encounter each other and they enter into each other's life, like a symbiosis. They encounter each other and it's also about the magic of encounter and connection, about how you transform yourself after a beautiful or horrible encounter with humans and more than humans. And then I love like to talk about this experience that I have been thinking about this book since I went sailing with a group of humans called Piratas do Amor, Pirates of Love. It was an art residency on board a sailing boat called Mintaka, around a beautiful bay in the state of Bahia called Bahia de Camamu. We navigate for 16 days, a group of artists from different areas, and the captains were a couple, Raíssa and Cris. She's from São Paulo, and he is from Liechtenstein. It was the year of the pandemic, 2020. So we were passing through this difficult moment of death and life, aware of the simple things in life and reflecting on the crisis we were walking through, just like now. It was an amazing experience being there, navigating together, being present and attent, aware of the tides, the winds, the sea, opening a huge magical portal where I was truly nourished by the energy of the other humans and more than human life. We laughed, we sang, we danced, we celebrate life. We believe in the power of love and transformation by caring and accepting each other, just the way we were. It was a different relationship with space, being on a sailboat, carrying all that surround us, and with time being present to create the future, and also challenging life, playing to be pirates of love.
Thank you. So one of the powers of Mother Other is that it creates such a moving and beautiful narrative arc about disconnection, reconnection, and belonging without words and through the visual arts. Could you tell us more about your creative process and how you approach telling the story of Mother Other through the visual arts?
Yes. Well, my creative process, it's a very wild and chaotic process, but woven through everyday practices and routines that involve my body and little actions like being a mom of two little kids. I'm a morning person. I love the sunrise and the morning light and listening to the bird songs. One of the most beautiful things about Salvador de Bahia is daylight. I practice yoga, I row and swim during the week, and I'm also an artist and a mother. So basically, my day life since I was a child has been influenced by the ocean and all its deep connection and beautiful beings. Also, I love to dance, to move. As an active body, the ideas come through movement. I have a lot of notebooks. They are my memories and my documents through time and space. I love to collect moments, writing, drawing, and also collecting things that are useless but are beautiful and meaningful to me because they are signals of time. So I approach Mother Other collecting moments, collecting ideas of what is to be a mother and another, what is to care and nourish not only my children or my human relations, but life itself, every single being. And finally, the techniques I used, it was a mixture of media, acrylic painting, collage, photography, and digital painting. I love to mix all the processes and fragments, and I work on different times and techniques. There is so much strength, love, and caring and power being a mother. And the word itself, mother, in English, contains and carries the other inside, even herself. So the book title is The Construction of the Concept and Thread that Guides the Story. Even if someone is not familiar with English language, if they observe deep into the word, they will discover a being inside another one.
Beautiful. So another thing that you've collected in this book, as we saw in the previous slide, are the many characters, the many beings that you included in your book, and they're one of the most striking features of it. So how did you come up with these characters, and what do they represent?
Yes, well, these characters, these beings, they inhabit me, my dreams, my body, my writing, my drawings. They are me, and at the same time, they are others. They are, they all are movements in my head and body before they come to life. They represent what I see out and inside, and at the same time, what I imagine it can be if I mix some of them. It's a game of giving life and playing. It's about playing to talk to the trees, to the ocean, to the river, to animals, to insects, to bacteria. I love the word play, that in English brings two ideas: the idea of being part of a game or being someone else, to perform in a position or as someone else. And again, it is life itself, playing, taking action with responsibility, but with joy, as if we were children. It's like imagine, it's like dreaming. What if I can I enter a big belly and decide to die inside? What if cargo ships carry plants and trees. And this huge, magnificent creation can be spaces of dance and music too. What if one day land is no longer private, and so on? It's about creating utopia. So these characters, they come from there, from a world of utopias.
Great, thank you. And so, for everyone here at the festival and for everyone who gets the pleasure of interacting with Mother Other, what do you hope people get out of it? How do you hope people engage with it?
Well, I would love that people can connect and the power to invent multiple stories and at the same time to play and to be present with the book. It's an object, you can play with it, you can invent. Yes, basically that.
Great, thank you. So let's consider that an invitation for everybody. I'd like to now bring Fatima more directly into the conversation and maybe start with this grounding question. So, at this festival, we're exploring the various practices and disciplines that are transforming relations with the more than human world, with the implications for law and legal action as a common thread throughout all the various sessions. So, you both work with the arts in various forms. Can you both, Elena and Fatima, introduce your work and also say something about how it relates to re-examining legal and political and cultural relations with the more than human world?
Okay, thank you, Jackie, for these very intelligent questions and difficult to answer too. And thank you for being here. Thank you for all the people who made this encounter possible. And thank you to my friend, my comadre, my socia, Elena. We have been friends for centuries from many lives. We have a lot of history together
Yes.
and stories together. So it's an honor for me. Thank you for having me here. So I am from Colombia. I am from a city that is called Manizales, which is located in the coffee region of the country. My city has a volcano called Cumandai, but it is colonially known as the Nevado del Ruiz. It is a volcanic area, so for me, the relationship with volcanic soil and volcanic tremor has been very important. This land is very fertile, surrounded by mountains, almost like an island of mountains, I will say. And the people from Manizales have a very intense connection with the landscape, with the sky, with the rocks. There is, I think it was the first um, department of geology that in the country. Maybe I'm inventing this, but it has a very important geology department in the Universidad de Caldas. And also it has a very important connection with the rain. And there's something about this land that I feel is embedded in my practice as a poet and as a storyteller. Um, so poetic language has connected me deeply with this land and its landscape. Since I can remember, I've been working with words and I really enjoy creating new experiences through poetic language. I believe in the plasticity of language. There is so much things to be done. And I start exploring these possibilities of non-human otherness through language in a book I wrote 10 years ago that it's called Del porno y las babosas, of porn and slugs. And I work in this book with my maestra Lila Samborain. And at that time, I didn't have a vocabulary for the multi-species and the more than human. I only had intuitions and a physical need to expand language. And this was related to the topic of pleasure specifically, because we've been told that one of the things that distinguish humans from other animals is that our sexuality is not merely reproductive, that we are the only animal species that has sex for pleasure. And I began to question this statement, because how can we make such claims if we have no idea what it feels like to be in a non-human body? Um, so as I said, I didn't know about moth, like I didn't have any relationship with this. I just had this intuition. And I started observing videos of animals copulating and trying to capture the materiality in all that exceeds us. So I start using like grammar to try to relate with the materiality and the pleasure of these other bodies that were not my own body. So I like at that moment I I felt like language was something that connected me, and it helped me to imagine what it feels like inside, to be inside a body that was not mine. And it was an exercise that forced me to break categories and assumptions about the human and the more than human. And I've been a Spanish professor for many years. I work at CUNY, and also that has allowed me to learn grammar very well, to break it and to do experiments that allowed me to approach, listen to, touch, and imagine um, my own sensations, but also the beyond human sensations. So also the MOTH project recently has made me think a lot about how to expand language to include voices beyond the human and to communicate with those manifestations of the infinite possibilities of otherness, like the ones Elena presents in her book.
Yes. Well, in my case, I create images, and images create reality. Many of the images I create are a symbiosis too. Like Fatima says, she imagined how it's to have sex with with another body. For me, it's also like not the same, but yeah, sometimes I imagine that, but it's like I love to point in my images the difference in between realities. Usually, I use my dreams. I love to meditate also. It kinds of root myself and my body. And then I make a collage of stories that aren't my stories, but rather life that talks through me. I think everything is political. Your decisions and actions, even if very small and invisible, are political. I love to observe the smallest and invisible worlds. They contain secrets and infinite possibilities for creation. Yes, that's.
Great, thank you. And so we're sitting here having a conversation about your creative practices and all that goes into that in a law school. We're here at NYU Law, and that might seem unusual, but at MOTH, we believe that the most transformative ideas and practices come at the interface between different disciplines, including law and the arts. So the question I have for you is, what insights do you think your creative practices hold for advancing more than human rights, rights beyond anthropocentrism, law beyond anthropocentrism?
Well, well, when I read that question, because we prepared like this, because English is not my native language, so it's it's complicated, and talking to all these people, to all you humans, is not easy for me too. So when I first I read that questions, what I imagined and visualized was a jellyfish. Yes, it's amazing because everything is connected. So just like I imagine like this jelly being, and it can goes like navigating through yeah through us, and it can expand and grow when it contact others. So it's just like a sail or a river, and that gets to the ocean. So the river, they start the mountains, they connect, and they get to this big ocean. So my practice and my actions are just like little actions that together with different practices will probably make a difference or contribute with some change. Since starting to work with MOTH project, I think my little characters and artwork have been an advance of sensibilization and gift of giving a beautiful face to this living organism, the more than human program that grows and grows.
Fatima, do you have anything to
Yes,
add?
well, I don't know if I will answer that question, but I just want to say that I write in Spanish, which is colonial language, and it was paradoxically that colonial legacy has allowed many people from different territories to connect with one another through this language, and it allows us to connect across the Americas, even with Brazil, since Portuguese is a very similar language. But this closeness should not make us forget that it is a colonial language and that it still carries the coloniality of power, as Aníbal Quijano will say, because it remains dominated by the Royal Spanish Academy, which continually seeks to normalize language, our language. I think in English you have different problems, but so in my work, I emphasize the need to avoid normalizing language for speakers to recognize themselves as agents of creation and transformation. And as my Greek professor, Emperatriz Chinchilla says, language is made by speakers. La lengua la hacen los hablantes. So on the other hand, language and languages have been entirely constructed by humans, for humans. And I am part of a feminist movement of poets, of academics, of scholars, of linguists, trying to make language more expansive to include the feminine, the non-binary, and now the more than human. And from this place, I have been able to explore political topics such as the relationship between language and power, and language and patriarchy, language and colonization, and language and the norms that tell us that to be human is to behave on a certain way, and that also determines sadly which beings matter and which do not matter. And yes, so I think in my practice I try to acknowledge all these constructions made by humans and how can we go beyond that.
Great, thank you. So something I heard you say, Fatima, or I understand you to be saying is we should be thinking about the assumptions we bring even in the language we're using. So thinking more broadly about assumptions, MOTH looks to shake up the categorical assumptions which underpin anthropocentrism in the law and beyond. And Mother Other, in particular, touches on multiplicity, the relationship between motherhood and otherness, and a host of other topics. So I guess my question is, how do you think Mother Other and both of your art more generally responds to assumptions that are made about the more than human world and how they're translated into other realms of human activity? So that includes law, but also culture and governance and well beyond that.
I became a mother very young. I was 24 years old, and yeah,
Here's
that's me
Fatima.
with my little kids, Alicia and Salomon. Now they are 16, and this was I was an utopist. How do you say? I am. I was. I really wanted to break away from the heteronormative family. So let's say that at that point I had a political project. I didn't know that was a political project, but it was. And it's strange because I was very young. I wasn't a feminist. I didn't have political consciousness at all. I had graduated from a university that was very non-political, and they wanted us to believe we were in a bubble. And I was not at all politicized, so I had no idea what I was doing. But I had an intuition again that I wanted to become a mother and to experience the adventure of a body giving life. But I also knew I didn't want to be a mother in a conventional family. So because I feel that to bring life into the world, you need a team, you need a tribe, you need how do you call, a village? It's that how you say. So I created a small village with my friends, Pedro and Daniel, and we had our twins, Alicia and Salomon, and we also gave birth to a project that it was called Residencia en la Tierra, which was an artist residency in the coffee region of Colombia, near to my city. And that's where Elena and I start to working together. So in this project, I think we hosted maybe 500 artists from different parts of the world, and we did amazing projects, crazy projects. I don't know, like at this moment I look back and I said, how could we did that?
It was like a crazy
Yeah.
project like this one, because
Yes.
Moth is always this one. And I was like that in that year. I was younger. I wasn't a mom, so it was just like the same, because I give with my images, with my with the power I have of giving birth, this project. I give birth also through my images, this project Residencia en la Tierra.
Yeah.
So she was a mother by that time, and we were artists, both artists living in Colombia, that it's like a difficult country. And in that time, we didn't have like so much support of like, okay, you have this money to make art, like we were just like so young, and we really believe in life and poetry and art, and we're just like, okay, we're going to do it. And our project, it was different because this place, it was like surrounded by nature. And yes, we were so inspired of being out of the city, because we six all the group, we live in Bogota, that was the capital, that is like Sao Paulo, New York. It's not like that big, but yes, it was the city. So we went like together like a big animal, like a big organism, because we were friends. They have like these two kids, and we all traveled together to this place that was like 7 hours from Bogota. And yes, we just like make experiments, just like we are making these experiments of mixing like artists, lawyers, scientists, indigenous leaders. It's just like getting together humans and like flourishing a través de lo que decía César ayer. Voy a hablar en español. Que era como aprendemos en haciendo, like we learn by doing. And if it works, it's okay, and if not, it's okay. And that work, and in that way, like mistakes, they are always welcome. And at the same time, that mistakes, you just like go on, and okay, we navigate. It's like being by the ocean too. Yes.
And that was, I think, maybe one of the first residency projects in Colombia, at least. And we became part of a network of residencies around the world. So my children grew up there until they were 5 years old, and then we came to New York, which was a crazy contrast. And they were mothered by many artists from all over the world, so they might not remember this experience, but I think they have absorbed it in some part of their being. Now they're very New Yorkers. So, and as a mother, I felt very supported in that project of being a mother, of having a residency, but not always, because being a mother in the capitalist world, even with the type of family we had, even with all the many people who were involved in that part of my life, it has been very difficult experience, because even if one chooses to be a mother differently, the institution of motherhood, as Adrienne Rich calls it, still governs. And in reality, I think changes are very important, but because I believe there has to be a consciousness about the mother and motherhood that I don't know if it's here, because I wonder, why is it assumed that mothers and the indigenous communities are the ones who should protect life, when in reality that responsibility should fall on society as a whole. And it seems very unjust to me that while mothers are considered to be the center of social responsibility for reproduction, child rearing, and care, we are also abandoned and neglected and invisible in the historiography. And so I think it's important to recognize how patriarchy, colonization, and capitalism have placed us in this position. And in this position, we have created, not because we are resilient, not because we are amazing human beings, but because we have been placed in a very difficult position, and in that position, we have created practices, epistemologies, and methodologies of care that are very important to learn from. But as I said, this responsibility of life and care should not fall solely on us because we are mothers, or on indigenous communities because they have a sacred relationship to the territory. So I believe these are things that need to be deessentialized and questioned for the kind of expansion we're looking for. And I also believe motherhood is a political category, and it's full of power. But as I said, it shouldn't be just on women, and because they have the capacity to give birth, or or of mothers because they give life. But it is the responsibility that it is a responsibility that can be taken on by other subjects as part of responsibility of care for life. So I believe that the power of mothers has been heroized. How do you say heroized? Like
Made heroic.
made heroic, but I don't think it should be, because that superpower of giving life does not make us super powerful. We are humans, vulnerable, and we need support. So we need others to become mothers, as Elena says in her book.
Yeah, yes. Woohoo. Yes, and just to finish, my book basically is, you're not going to find a human mother inside of it. It's a character that I really invent, and it's like it's a power that I wanted to discover. Like, what if I can like hold like all this thing and beings inside me? And actually, we care like a lot of beings inside us. Like, we are full of little organisms that we cannot see, but if you close your eyes, you can imagine them. So that also, like, to answer like the question of what about that characters that they don't have heads, they are humans and with hands, and yes. And well, and then the concept of mother, um, yes, yes, is basically of what if, and the concept of other, what if that the other comes into that, or that full mother. So it's basically a journey that you will invent also, and you will see, I hope that people can get lost like in the little details of the books. And yes, is it?
So we have a few more minutes, and I hope you'll bear with me for a question we did not prepare in advance, but it'll be a little experiment, which is the word that I wanted to touch on as a keyword that came up in this session, but also in Moth and in the festival. And you two were both part of an experimental gathering we ran in September, which was co-hosted by the Suriyaku indigenous community in their territory. And we've run this for a few years, but this past year, we decided to bring an especially large contingent of artists to this interdisciplinary gathering to talk about all sorts of relations with the more than human world and how to act around that. And so you spent several days not only talking to artists, but also lawyers and philosophers and scientists and others. And I think interdisciplinarity is a feature, not a bug of the moth field. So I guess the question that I'd like to conclude with, especially given that I suspect this audience itself is very interdisciplinary, is what have you learned as artists working and collaborating and building across disciplines, and what kind of lessons might you offer for how we can continue building those bridges across very different fields?
Well, that encounter and all the gatherings of Moth have been like so special. But this specific encounter in Ecuador, it was really amazing because we were at this territory, sacred territory. So for me, for example, I was born in a little city in Colombia called Barranquilla, that it's, yeah. Well, it's a city. And then I go to study in Bogota, to the capital, because we have like that dream, like my city, I wanted to experiment the world. That is how we are like, well, it was like my interest. And being there like this, and getting to know like living with this community, with this territory, and knowing like they have a root in there. It was just like this feeling like, okay, which is my territory, like, because I'm from Colombia, but I live in Brazil, and we have like this liberty, like this freedom of traveling, and which is my territory? It was like a question I made to myself, and it was a deep feeling. So I started imagining okay, maybe I'm a bird, maybe I'm a flying a moth, another being that can have this power to fly and to get to different places, and to travel with information, yes, and to inspire. So I'm being also with scientists, with journalists, with lawyers, and it was really rich because the boundaries, the boundaries are like blurring. It start like blurring, and at the same time everyone is in their individuality, that it's really like, okay, this is me, but we are a collective. And in that way, I think Earth is like that, like planet Earth is like that, like we cannot forget that we are a collective organism, and if you grow, I can grow together. So basically, for me, that was that experience. Yes.
So for me, it was, as Elena said, like a life-changing experience. I was already into deep listening and radical listening. I don't remember the term that Cesar used yesterday. Um, Someone in the audience maybe remembers, but it was like a, yeah, like like a moment to listen to all of these knowledge, experiences from different disciplines. And also I think that also helps us to take us out from our center, like to expand the notion of what is being a human, because sometimes we are very into our own disciplines and we don't see like further. And also it was like a mystical experience. I felt possessed by the green color, by the different textures of the green. And I also learned a lot from the Sarayaku's way of life, because they have all these rituals around the word, about like speaking with the guayusa, which is a plant they use and they make tea. And in the mornings, I don't know if every morning, but many of the mornings that we were there, we drank the guayusa and we start this circle of word led by Jose Gualinga, who is here. And I really thought I really enjoyed that communal sense of the word, of sharing our stories, and the dreams also, because they have a very special relationship with dreams. They for dreaming, they also have a special diet, because they don't take them
They
for
don't
granted.
take coffee. They don't take coffee.
They don't take coffee. And I was kind of obsessed with this with this manifestation of the vision. I don't José, ¿cómo es la palabra para la visión? Que no es exactamente visión, pero ¿cómo? Musqui, yeah. So it's this vision, this spirit of the territory of things. And so, yes, I think it was like very deep experience. And after that, I took a lot of notes. And I always take a lot of notes, because I believe I have bad memory, maybe not, but yes, I took a lot of notes. And I not like about from what the Sarayakus talked, but also it was a very intense moment, because we didn't rest. It was like this MOTH conference, but in the forest, and all the time we have like a very tight schedule.
And we have like 100 of adolescents and kids we have to interact with.
Yeah. So I took a lot of notes, and then I gathered all these notes and I made a poetic chronicle. So it was 24 pages long, and it was it was like only what I heard. It was nothing made by me. Like what I heard, I edited, I made like a collage, and from that poem, I like synthesized and I made it a short poem, which is exhibit in the MOTH exhibition, and I read it yesterday. That it's not mine. It's just like all these sounds, textures, landscape that went through me. And that I think it was also like my way of giving back. And we didn't talk about the Causac Sasha, that it's their the Sarayaku, the how would you say, like the
Living forest.
yeah, the living forest, but like their ideology, I don't know, like their main
Statue.
statement, yeah, that it's the living forest. And one of the I think the main purpose of that encounter was to how we as artists, lawyers, scientists, observers could listen to that message and use our own experience and our own languages to expand it and to transmit it to the rest of the world. And
That's beautiful. So something I heard you say, and something I've learned from working with artists, is that the arts help us see differently, see from different angles, and envision a different world, which I think lays at the foundation of actually acting and building a different world. So I think that's where I would like us to leave it. And I want to thank you both so much for joining us and everybody here. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you.